my darlings, welcome back for episode 2 of Vlogmas. Today I am going to be showing you how I'm going to be using pearl strands on my tree as garland this year. If you're new here, my theme this year is a Victorian inspired Christmas. And these pearl strands in 2 different sizes are going to be going on my main large Victorian tree. These are 6mm and 10mm pearl strands, and I will link below where I got them from. What I'm showing you right now is how to connect these 2 strands together without cutting anything or tying anything or wiring together or anything like that. This method works so well because you can quickly connect the 2 strands, and then if you don't like it, you can unhook it without causing any damage to the strands. Joining them like this also gave it a little bit more stability, so when the strands were resting on a branch, they just sat there comfortably without sliding around. So I didn't even use anything to attach them to the branches. I just sat them on the branches, sometimes in a notch, but more often than not, just right over a limb. While I was hanging the garland on the tree and beginning to decorate with it and start arranging it, I suddenly felt something tugging on it, and this is what was happening.
Oh, this isn't gonna work.
He has never acted like this, even with a string. I mean, he does like to chase a string, but God, this was so funny. He would not let go of it. And I immediately thought, oh no, what if this becomes a thing and he decides to try to take them off the tree? Happily, once they were on the tree, he did not seem to notice them or care about them at all, so never a dull moment with cats. I got the idea of using the pearl strands in part because when I was doing research on Victorian Christmas trees, well, first of all, that was an unbelievably interesting rabbit hole to go down, and I got lost a couple times, I can't lie. And I started to notice that on many of them, while yes, there was lots of popcorn and garland, there were these long, draping strands of ornamental beads or glass balls, or I really am not sure exactly what they are, but I thought, how could I replicate that? And my mind immediately turned to pearls. Now that being said, a couple of these trees, we just have to take a minute to look at them. The trees in some of these photos are just the most chaotically fabulous things I've ever seen. They're wild and charismatic and somewhat ironically, they feel incredibly unpretentious. You can tell a lot of care and joy went into decorating these, but they don't look overly manicured or like they're taking themselves too seriously. And it kind of goes against a lot of what we may think of when it comes to Victorians. I could happily show you hundreds of these pictures, but those were just a few of the highlights. So here is my tree with what ended up being 2 full rolls of the 10mm and 1 full roll of the 6mm. It's always fun to see the layers of a tree come together, and I'm so glad I chose this style of tree that really gives me the opportunity to hang things this way with the really well spaced out branches. I can't believe how beautiful this looks with just the flameless candles and the pearls on it. I was a little unsure of how this was gonna go at first, but the method I showed you at the beginning of clipping the strands together worked so well to keep the strands stable and anchored to the branches, and also made it possible to really swag these in that long draping movement that I was trying to replicate from the extant photos we were looking at. And here's a close-up of how it sits on the branch. Like I said, I did not tie it to the branch or clip it to the branch. It just sits there with no trouble. Okay, and now I want to show you something amazing that I bought. I made this purchase on Etsy from this shop called Adornamentea. I was searching for a tree topper that would suit this tree as it's coming together. I do have many different stars, but I don't have any angels. And while stars and angels were both used in the Victorian period, this is the tree that we have to thank for really making the angel tree topper super popular. This was one of those cases where I could have made something of my own, but I also really enjoy the opportunity to to support small creators. And I am so glad I went for it with this one because she is just stunning. I love her. She's created in the Dresden style, which I'm gonna talk about more in an upcoming video. The attention to detail here is amazing. There are all these beautiful layers, gold foiling, ribbon, lace, ephemera. This is just amazing. It's even more gorgeous in person. I hope you can tell through the screen how beautiful this is because it is even more gorgeous in person. There was one little spot where the filigree is lifting a tiny bit, but it's a very delicate bit of craft work. So I'm just gonna use a tiny bit of glue to tack that back in place. I love how the trim on the bottom of her skirt matches her little headband with the butterfly in it. It's so cute. I could not have hoped for a more fabulous addition to my Victorian Christmas decor, and like I said, the name of the shop is Adornamentea, and I will link it below in the description. Not sponsored, I just found her item and love it, and I'm genuinely raving over it. Be sure to come back and see how she looks on the tree. And my favorite part is her face. She has a very Gibson girl vibe, and her look is just so sassy. I love it. I hope you're having a beautiful lead up to the Christmas season. Thank you so much for watching and for joining me for my first Vlogmas. And I will see you all in the next video.